All right. Great morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And as of the time, we would even try to start on time as close as possible. Definitely thank you guys for sharing your Saturday mornings with us. You know, Saturday mornings are very important. We recuperating from the long week. So we're going to mix some stuff up. That brother came in right on time. So we learn in different cultures and we pick up different things. So for myself, I would like to start off by getting permission from anybody over the age of 60 that we may go ahead and proceed and speak.
Yeah, boy.
All right. All right. So we honor the culture and our elders and those folks that come before us and that have made the way. You never know what you have done for others by the work that you do. So I always tell people my worship is in my work. And we always start by highlighting the Creator and moving forward. And we're going to do what we can do, right? My name is Matt Epps. I'm from a large city called Lexington, Mississippi, in the world famous Holmes County. I'm a product of Tuku College. I've been on this campus since 1996, and I'm doing as much as I can in this area. Community organizer. One of my social work classmates here. So we've been in the fight for mental health and helping out folks for a long time. And I'm here as your moderator. I've been working with the Institute for a while. I'm part of the Health Council. So we've grown. I see some familiar faces from last year. I'm here to moderate this great panel. We have some sisters here that have come to educate and share their expertise and talk about some of the things that we face on a day-to-day basis. Today, we're going to talk about our environment. We're going to talk about unmasking environmental injustice, climate, and class, and its power over Black men's health. So we know those who are, anybody here under 40, under 40, under 35, under 30, under 25. Oh, you younger, but one of the things that when you start questioning and start talking about prostate health, it always asks about your environment. Right? That's one of the things that plays a major part when you start talking about causing issues with prostate, your work environment. We're going to talk about our environment, period. So we're going to start right next to me. We'll have them introduce themselves in their own way and highlight one thing that they're passionate about in their work. So we start off with Ms. Tripp.
Hello everyone, my name is Felicia Tripp. I am a lifelong resident of Jackson, Mississippi. I tried to dip out a couple of times and keeps pulling me back in. But yeah, born and raised, absolutely love my city and my people. So a lot of my background involves disaster preparedness and response work. I'm formerly the Senior Disaster Program Manager for the American Red Cross. So I worked in this space there. I also worked with MEMA, the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, as an incident command trainer. I worked with the International Chemical Workers Union under the CBTU, which is the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, and with the CARE team, which is the Community Action and Response Against Toxins. And with that, I worked in the space of environmental toxins and such as mold remediation, lead abatement, and that is when I became involved with the emergency disaster space as well as the environmental injustice movement. And as we seek justice in that space, I'm currently a co-founder of a company, Eversol, and again, that's in the solar/renewable energy space. And community advocate, done a lot of work with this gentleman to my left and a couple of others in the room, and I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Martin.
I'm Crystal Martin, and I'm from the big city of Gloucester.
Oh, man.
I always like to ask, by show of hands, how many people know where Gloucester is? What? This is the first for me. Most people always say Gloucester. Now is it up there by Tupelo? But I'm from Gloucester, Mississippi. And of course, we're located in Southwest Mississippi, for those of you who do not know where we are. I actually left Gloucester at the age of 18 to attend Jackson State. I'm a 3-time graduate of Jackson State University. But my career took me into education, where I worked in higher education for nearly 30 years. very passionate about the work that I did with college students. But approximately 6 years ago, I got a phone call from my mom. Well, we talk all the time. but in this one conversation, she was reading the newspaper, and she said the industry here, or the company here in Gloucester, was fined $2.5 million. And she wanted to know, could this be the reason why I'm sick? Because at that time, she had just gotten out of the hospital for breathing issues. So it was that conversation that ultimately led me to returning back to the big town of Gloucester. And I started a nonprofit. I already had a nonprofit where I was doing work in the community with young people. But when we discovered this $2.5 million fine, we started asking questions. And of course, we didn't know at the time what was really happening. All we knew was there was a company in our community fined $2.5 million, and we needed to find out why did they have to pay this large amount of money. This is what led me to returning home about 2 years ago, because I realized we have a huge problem. Like Houston, we have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And because we are a small rural community, we have no one showing up to help us. And it's like, if somebody gonna help my mom, I need to show up, because that's my mama. We only get that one mom. So I came back home. I have a nonprofit that I co-founded with my mom and some other people in the community. We call it Greater Greener Gloucester, and we're going to, I guess, continue to fight. I tell people I'm learning about this environmental justice space because I've been in higher education. I like to say I'm an educator turned environmental activist, because I am going to keep fighting until we get a solution. There are a lot of people in our community that's suffering, so now we're learning we have public health issues, right? We have environmental justice issues. We have this rural community, and we have to educate the people on what's harming their health. And so that's a little bit about who I am. I'm this environmental activist that showed up, A, to help my mama, but B, to help my community. I'm really passionate about people. I learned that I was passionate about helping people as a college administrator. But then God said that you got to take that passion now back to this small rural community where you grew up. Because you got to go back and help the people in the land where your ancestors are buried. So I'm here.
You know, when you said it, go back to it, I think about something my grandmother used to say. She made it to second grade education. She would always say, no matter how high a bird fly, you got to come down and get a ground tree. So you got to have something to keep you grounded. You got to come back, and it's to never get above your raising, right? So we hear two things, right? And we hear that we're fighting natural disasters, we're fighting chemical plants and things of that nature. The two connecting words would be environmental racism. So in your own words, what does environmental racism mean, Ms. Tripp?
So, for me, environmental racism leads to deliberate actions to keep people in spaces where toxins and other harmful pollutants impact them the most. And typically when we say people, we're talking about marginalized communities. It's typically, a lot of things are based on class. We've learned through many studies, and several of them governments are the same government that allows these actions to take place, that this is race related in most cases.
Correct.
This is why, and you spoke to prostate cancer earlier, as I was reading through some of the statistics and looking at Mississippi, the numbers here are astronomically much higher than other places. And there's a direct correlation to environmental pollutants as being a factor with that.
Yeah. Fun fact about prostate, that white men are most likely to get prostate cancer before black men, but black men are more likely to die from it. So, what does it mean to you, Doc?
Whew. Whew. When I think about environmental racism, it took me back to, I returned back home and I requested a meeting with MDEQ. because I needed to know how did MDEQ show up in Gloucester and the people not know that they were having a meeting to discuss this industry, right? And I was disheartened when I was told that we came to your community and we put out notices, but where did you put the notices? Like, you're gonna tell me where you put the notices. Because you cannot tell me that today we are here and I have like 20 people with me. Why are the people showing up now? Like, what made them show up now that they couldn't show up then if you gave them a notice, right? So when I got to the table, I requested a meeting with MDEQ. We were in that meeting and we got to speak to the director, of course, of white male. And I'm a person who, I'm gonna call a spade a spade. So I basically said, like, you make decisions for people that look like me. We're not at the table making these decisions. So the decisions you're making don't impact the people in my community. We need a voice at the table. We need a seat at the table. And so clearly in that moment, and I said it, and I don't take it back, but it's racism. Because you have unfair practices. I lived in DeSoto County when I first started this work. When COVID hit in DeSoto County, there were that protective gear. We had masks, we had hand sanitizer on every corner. They say go to Walgreens. Who I'm concerned about? My mom. Well, my mama can't go to Walgreens because she lives in rural Gloucester, Mississippi. We don't have a place where she can go. So it's like just the unfair treatment of how things happen in DeSoto County as opposed to how things happen in Gloucester. So one of the things too, I always work with Kathy Eglin. I don't know if many of you know who Kathy Eglin is, but she's been doing this environmental justice work on the Gulf Coast for over 30 years. And Kathy she said to MDEQ, she said, you know, I'm in Gulfport. When there is a warning about the water at the beach, she said our phones get an alert. Right. We can turn on the TV and we see there's an alert, don't go to the beach today. Why? Because the water is unsafe. Right. Why don't we get an alert in Gloucester when the air is polluted? Mm-hmm. We don't get that. Like, why? Why? My community is 80% black. Majority of us are family in the community. I always tell people we're either connected by blood, by marriage, somebody baby mama or somebody baby daddy, and you connect all 800 of us. Yeah. So why don't we get those same treatments? And when you think about environmental racism, it's DeSoto County, completely white. You know, the Gulfport, they get notices. But people like me in my community, we don't even have an air monitor. We can't log into the clean air and put in our zip code like everybody else can. So I have a problem with that. And when we can't do that and I see those unfair practices and policies, then it's racism. It has to be.
Yeah. I definitely understand as we fought a tire fire on McDowell, and that area pretty much forgot. We had to get an independent group out of Texas Southern to come and do our own thing because several weeks after the tire fire, you know, MDEQ still playing the game with us. And as we know, some people don't believe that they believe it's fake news that climate change is happening. So, Ms. Tripp, how is climate change affecting vulnerable communities in Mississippi, particularly low-income and rural black?
So, climate change has a negative impact on our communities. You know, typically, let's just look at Jackson, Mississippi. What people call green spaces are virtually, in a sense, non-existent in Jackson, Mississippi. That increases the opportunity for people to have heart attacks and strokes because heat impacts there. So you have all these different layers and facets to it, you know. We are already impacted by the air, we're impacted by the water, impacted by proximity. So and I just want to go back to something that you said about us not being at the table. One of the most troubling parts about all of this is symbolism with no sustenance. Because oftentimes they will place one of us at a table who look like us anyway. So too often, people who look like me or you placed in a particular position, and I do mean placed. Because I've been a token before. You know, hey, I've had the advantage of tokenism before. But I think that when you are placed in a certain position, it is absolutely imperative for you not to be what they place you there to be. You know, words matter, so definitions of words matter. I think that those of us who are willing to play that part are the reason why we condemn Tom instead of Sambo to this day so much. So we have a bunch of Sambos who are creating a situation for people not to be more like Uncle Tom, to be at said table and be able to effectively assist your community. Okay? So there are, again, layers to this. We have a mindset of this or that, when sometimes it's this and that. Okay? The state of Mississippi as a whole has had practices that are absolutely not in favor of community of color. The state of Mississippi is in a position right now where the super majority of people who are emulating someone who is taking the country back to fascism, okay? And looking to go back to something that was never so great. The state of Mississippi is emulating that. So you take that on one hand and one side of that scale. But on the other side of the scale, you must have people like who look like you, who are elected, who are proactive, not reactive in this fight, who alert you to the things that are going on, instead of only pointing the finger at what the state is doing. So there's such an, you know, and I struggle with this because there's so many layers to it psychologically. You're being impacted physically, you're being impacted mentally. And the people who you think should be fighting alongside you and for you as leaders, when they are indeed compromised or absolutely unengaged and uninformed and unwilling to work with each other, we just swinging at the wind while we sucking in the gas that's killing us. It's like being in the gas chamber and somebody who look like you snatched a mask off for you to huff it up fast. So, I almost forgot the original question.
No, you're doing good.
You're doing good. As our friend David Mosley would say, you're in a fight, and you got it, and next thing you know, you know anybody behind you but your people, and the next thing that you get hit in the back of the head, you're trying to figure out what happened.
Exactly.
And so you got to be the spook that set beside the door. And it's a reason they banned that movie from the movie theaters in the 70s. You got to learn the system. You got to be alone enough to learn the system and learn how to take that information and apply it. Because once they get comfortable enough, they start speaking. And that's what and I understand it's a struggle to sit there and hear it and not say nothing.
Right, but then you also have to understand when you see people who are actually at that metaphorical table, we as citizens, we can't just simply say, well, oh, you should do this and you should do that. I'm not going to call any names, but somebody in this room, I sat back as somebody demanded for them to come to a community meeting, okay? Can you imagine covering over 20 counties with whatever you do, and somebody demands that you come to a meeting in their one community within one county every week, just for the sake of saying you're there, as opposed to learning what it is that we can do as communities so we can work together so that the person can be more effective. So it's so many facets to this, so many layers to this. But I think that we as a people are going to have to take ownership in the fact that we have to educate, advocate, and make demands. And that can't happen without strategizing and planning, not just to react in a moment by passing out bottles of water when you know the water been jacked up for 30 years and got lead in it in the first place. Not that I'm condemning it. Water is life. We all know the connectivity of it. But we got to stop playing these games. So we got to stop allowing people to play them.
There was something you said and it took me back. I just want to share
I
that.
got a question for you too, Doc. Go ahead.
So I'm sitting at the table with the MDQ director, and I told you he's a white man, right? And so we were giving him a lot of pressure, because you gotta apply. I believe that if you're gonna get something done, you have to go to the people who can make the decisions, right?
Right.
So like you say, they will put us in a lot of these positions, and some of us are in these positions, but they can't do anything. So you don't have to waste my time, because I came back here, to help my mom. And so I don't have to spend a lot of time talking to the middleman, just taking straight to the top, whoever can make these decisions. So that's why I demanded a meeting with the director of MDEQ. He says to me, well, when he felt the heat, he said, he wrote the bill, he wrote the permit. So who wrote the permit? The black man. He was trying to take it off of him and put it on the black man. I don't care who wrote the permit, right? The regulations in there are not strict enough to do what we need to do in our community. So you trying to take the heat off of you, and I just looked at the black man, because now I'm waiting to see what you gonna do. Because see, I done ate that joker up. But I was trying to keep my composure a little, but you just tried to throw the black man under the bus to say he wrote the permit. That's why y'all don't have the protections, right, and the standards that you need, because he wrote the permit. So every time I look at this black man, I'm just like, yeah, he said it.
So while you're doing that, I want you to tell this, because you said you went back to help your mother. In what ways are environmental hazards linked to chronic conditions like asthma, cancer, or cardiovascular diseases among black men?
Oh, those issues, we see those and I have a brochure that we put together, because what we have to do is we have to continue to educate people in our community, right? And we're learning about all of these VOCs and particulate matter, and I'm asking, when you come into my community, remember, first of all, we're a rural community, right? A lot of the people don't have jobs. So you come in here talking about a particulate matter. What's a particulate matter? What is a VOC?
Correct.
Like you said, one time they said HAPS. You're not gonna come in here and tell my community about HAPS. I think Toya may have been in that meeting. You're gonna tell them what it is, right? It's hazardous air pollution. They need to know that. So they need to know that all of these pollutants, particulate matter. What does particulate matter cost? Like, we need a breakdown. And so I try to educate my community, find out all the information, break it down so that they understand it, because if they don't understand it, they're not aware as to what's really harming them. So we look at these particulate matters and we have to say, you know, it can lead to nosebleeds. I think we shared a video one day where a lady comes into a meeting, she said, I got a lot of dust in my house. I got so much dust, and I dust every day. Elderly lady, almost 80, and I said, ma'am, where do you think the other dust is going? She didn't know, and I was like, think about it. This dust that's in your house, that's on everything. You're in here telling us where the dust is. Do you also know it's getting in your nostrils, getting inside your bloodstream, wreaking havoc inside your body that you don't know? So all of these toxins that we are dealing with and that we are learning about, they're impacting our health, but again, we have to be able to explain it to the community, break it down so they can see it, and help them to understand what are all these acronyms you keep throwing at me. Because I had to go figure them out. I'm like, if I don't know what they are, how do you think my community knows what you're talking about? So these are things that we're doing on the ground, making sure, I tell people, stop talking above my community, right?
Yeah.
Bring it down here. We're going to communicate with them as if we're all in the 3rd grade, because that's how we need to break it down. If not, you're not helping your people, right, to understand. People want to know why we have so much success, because I spend a lot of time doing things like this. And every time somebody comes, I remind them, I need you to help us to understand on a level that we can digest this and understand it. So that Miss Mabel, who's 85 now, I think, can understand about these pollutants, right? All of these health hazards. We have so much dust in our community, y'all. I kid you not. If you look at the ring cameras, you can begin to see the particles of dust. it's not particularly matter anymore. It's like large dust particles flying around. And so these things are dangerous, right? But if you don't take these toxins and then connect it to these health issues, the people never know what's harmful.
So Dr. Martin, would you say the majority of the folks that work at this plant are mostly black men?
I can tell you they don't come from Gloucester, so they won't let me in there to see it. And they won't give us the numbers, and I try to send reporters and everybody in there to let me know who work in that plant. Because right now, we don't know. We did a health survey with Southern Environmental Law Center. We surveyed 15, maybe 20% of the households in Gloucester. Only one. When you look at this, only one person knew somebody who worked in that plant. That's a problem.
So the
That
plant
is a
is in
problem.
y'all town, but
It's
you
in
have
the
a
city.
high unemployment rate.
Where the people just, the people just don't work. That's another issue. But yeah,
Wow.
I don't know. To this day, and we talk to majority, well, remember what I tell y'all, we are all related some type of way, right? So why we don't know the people that work inside that facility?
And you know everybody.
We pretty much, we can probably name 5 people, maybe 5.
Wow.
And I think I had somebody to pull some data, and we discovered that like 70 or 80 people work inside that facility. Now, if we pull up and look too hard, they'll call the police on. So I can't tell you where the tags are coming from because they have them to strategically park in that parking lot.
Wow.
So you can't see the tag. Oh, I go looking. Yeah, because I want to know. Like inquiry minds, we want to know. Yeah.
So the blowback from causing these health issues, you can't even get gainful employment from it. That's a whole different double.
Oh, another double whammy is I did meet somebody and he said, oh, by the way, I used to work there. I said, I've been looking for you. I've been looking for you. He said, well, I used to work there. They hired me through the temp agency. He said, I got half of the money and the temp agency got the other half. So then that means Drax lied when they came into our community, right? They lied and said, we're going to be bringing good jobs and we're going to be paying, a lot of money. Only to discover most of the people got hired through the temp agency. So,
So that's someone in this room coined a phrase we talk about all the time: poverty pimps.
yeah.
Poverty pimps. You come and
Oh,
shine
yeah.
and shine something, hold something in front of us that's
I
shiny, and we don't even benefit from it.
So I call them poverty pimp on social media anyway. They got my page shut down.
Oh
I
wow.
don't have a page.
I'm being nosy. What type of facility is this? I'm just being nosy.
Oh no, so in Gloucester we have what's called a wood pellet industry. First, wood pellets. It's industrial biomass.
It's like
A lot of time people,
like
a lot of time people hear wood pellets and they think, oh, the wood pellets that you grill with, but these are actually wood pellets that they use what they call for renewable energy, so they can use like electricity. The wood pellets are only manufactured, check this out, only manufactured in U.S. southern states. Now, Kathy did some research and she took the map of where the wood pellet plants are located and she compared it to all the cotton slave states. And that's where you will find this. We talk about
The
racism.
next question is going to be related to both y'all. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to piggyback on what she said. There again, they're able to take words that mean one thing and reapply something else completely false to it. That's not renewable energy.
No.
At all. But we again just allowing to have, what's the racial makeup of the city council of Gloucester?
Oh, that's a whole nother issue. They look just like me.
And is it in the city limits?
The industry is in the heart of our town. So Gloucester's a really small town. We are less than 2 miles. We are only 1.82 square miles. And when you think about a town that small, less than 2 miles, Drac sits in the center of the town. That means everybody in that town is impacted. Proximity. Yeah, if everybody, and when you think about the number of people that's suffering from health problems and don't even know it.
So the next question I'm going to ask you is answered
Dr.
by
Martin,
policy.
can you tell them, some of the people in here may be more city people and not know what a wood pellet is and how it's used, the process?
Yeah, so again, they manufacture, they take, and another, here's a whole other thing, because we could talk about this forever. Drax is located in the UK. They're not even a USA industry. They are located in the UK. I go to the UK once a year, and they always have what they call clean air day. We get clean air in the UK, but we don't get it here. So this industry comes here to the US, and they cut down our trees, our forests. Right? These are things that we need to fight out these natural disasters.
Correct.
But instead, they come here and they clear cut our forests.
Right.
They take our trees and they promise to replant, and of course, we don't see any of that. But then they take these trees and then they bring them to communities like mine, where they strip them down and put chemicals or whatever on them. They don't like for me to use the word chemical, and they will do a write up on me if I say chemical. So they'll flash me everywhere. But anyway, yeah.
What's the terminology once you use that confuses people?
Yeah, I don't even know. I just started saying toxins, but I'm like, if that's gonna make you feel better. But at the end of the day, you are applying.
Yeah, toxins worse than chemicals.
Yeah, but they don't like for me to say, they get a whole spiel on me because
So the question you didn't answer, Dr. Martin, was shows up in policy, practice, and enforcement. It's a high example. So you just explained those examples. The question now would be, environmental wise, what are some practices that we know that we can do to help change some of these policies and practices and enforcement?
Okay, so one of the reasons why I asked about the racial makeup, because one of the things that I would love to see, because there's always going to be a need for economic development, right? We're looking for ways to make more money. So there are going to be times where there's a negative attribute to the thing that brings us money. In an ideal world, we can just say, just don't bring it. But when people are starving to be able to make it in this world, they're going to dive on any opportunity that they can. But as Doc explained, and I followed this, they said we're bringing job opportunities. They said this is going to help the community, and it was all the opposite. But where were the guardrails and the conversations of those who give permissions through permits for them to be there to absolutely have that written in that this is a demand, this is a requirement. This percentage of your employee body must come from here and not through temp agencies. Because this is the same thing, of course.
somebody getting
Because
money.
this is the same thing that happened with Nissan and Canton. That's
Yeah.
a lot of those people were employed through temp agencies for years with no real opportunity to be full-time employees. We use a lot of words, racism and isms. All of this goes back to what I believe Dr. Francis Cress Wilson defined white supremacy as not a feeling. I think we too often confuse and blend this with bigotry. It is absolutely a system that is going, just what she said, somebody's making money and somebody's going to be harmed as a result of that money. This is not just simply all white people, because a lot of them are poor too.
It's sad because I look at the people in my community, and I'm like, if you're gonna give money for this, make sure you get some money.
Yeah.
Don't let the people come in my community. We see where they say we're gonna beautify Boston, and they gave my community a can of some spray paint. See, if you're gonna beautify the community, you better go partner with Home Depot and Lowe's. Don't bring me no paint and some flowers that cost $1. All you have to do is Google us. You'll see it. You will see it. They brought in my community. The local government is saying, "Wow, look at what the industry is doing for us," and they're giving you breadcrumbs, a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So this industry, because I went to the UK and I stood up. I was like, all right, Dad, make sure I get on that plane and get back. Cut up in here today. And I had my mama with me too, but I'm gonna cut up in here today. But anyway, so they decided, I took a petition to them where 6,000 and some people signed. And then they came back and within like a day, we're gonna be good neighbors to God. But you've been in Gloucester 10 years. Why you wait for me to show up 2 years ago? Now you want to be a good neighbor. What the crap is a good neighbor if you've been my neighbor for 10 years, 8 years, and you never did anything for me? They showed up with $250,000 in my community of Smiling. This industry is $1 billion industry.
Absolutely.
$1 billion industry. But see how you show up in communities, rural communities, people, you know, unfortunately with simple minds, small minds, and we think $250,000 is something. Then they show up and they say, well, we're gonna buy alcohol and beer and we're gonna have a parade and a party. Y'all,
Go ahead.
I'm so furious. They plastered me just recently because they showed up and bought fireworks, and I said, I said it, I probably shouldn't have said it. My mama was like, don't say it no more, but anyway, I said, you bought fireworks for some foods because you knew you could fool these people into thinking you had done something for them. And all you did was gave them pennies, and they got excited because they could have a 5-minute fireworks show. And then they can brag about what, you know, this industry is doing. And every day, y'all, I get phone calls about the number of people that's sitting at the Cancer Institute in Macomb, Mississippi, that's coming out of my community.
You know, if you held somebody's head underwater long enough, they're gonna be grateful for that huff of air they get, even if the air has whatever chemical in it. So this is what's continuing to happen. They grateful for the slower death.
Yeah.
It truly pick your poison.
Literally, it's the old little thing they used to say, if somebody buried you up to your head in manure, but then it's raining urine, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
You gonna stay up or pull your head up? Because either way it's a bad situation, right?
Right.
Now it's hard to be in this environment. I hear this as a passion, and I applaud them because, you know, there's some other words they might want to come out that help them express themselves a lot better. So we applaud them for holding it in, because when you live in these environments, it's very, very hard not to see it, right? Why am I a big advocate for environmental justice? Me and my cousin were sprayed with cotton balls when we were little. And they're supposed to cut off when they get to the certain end, but you know, they want every boulder open. So the only way you can get that last little plant is you can't cut off at the time. So you just let it stay, spray it on top of our house, spray it all over. So that's a direct connection being in the Delta. That's what we did. You know, because majority of our houses, you see, it's cotton field house, and you're going to get sprayed. And that's why a lot of folks have respiratory problems in the Delta area, right? Clean water, those type of things.
Well, they wonder, then you wonder then, why is it that the people in the Delta don't grow their own food and have a garden and this and that? Because everything's already polluted.
Well, you can't do it because you might get sprayed. That's one of the major reasons is in the waterway, you know, there was a fungus a couple of years ago with deer, right? They had this thing going on. And, you know, majority of everybody in Mississippi, very few people, you probably count on one hand, that's never had deer. So that's something, you know, you can go out and take care of yourself. But we know all these things connect. We got one last question, and we want to open up to everybody to be able to respond. You pretty much tackled this already. What is the connection between climate change, natural disasters, and environmental justice in the historical, under-resourced community? Poor black communities, we break it down. Make it plain, Brother Hoppus. We got to keep it plain. We ain't got to dress it all.
All right, so if you think about Hurricane Katrina, and think about Hurricane Katrina, we're in the 20th year anniversary of it, and it directly hit the Gulf Coast. 3 weeks after Katrina, while recovery is just beginning, Hurricane Rita hit. Most people forget about this. People called it Rita for the longest period of time. So the areas that water was pumped out in Louisiana was refilled by the water and flooding that came from Hurricane Rita, because if I remember, that was a Category 3 storm. So let's take that and look at Cancer Alley, which runs from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, highest level of cancer rates in the United States.
Can I say something right on that?
Yeah.
When I started working with the EPA, they said Gloucester was the new cancer area.
Yeah, I mean,
Sick to my stomach.
it's literally close enough to, you know, Louisiana, where they're connected, but, so that's Cancer Alley, when you have all these pollutants. When you already have these pollutants that are in an area, it's being stirred up by any winds, any waters, any flooding, mold remediation. So again, I already sprayed you all with cotton poison. Now I'm coming in with citrate on top of it. You still made it through. So now we're gonna pour some water on you all that has some bacteria that's not eating your flesh. I mean, in a metaphorical sense, this is what's happening, but literally to people. In that area where you got little girls at the age of 5 who were already developing their cycles, okay? The average rate of life was what, 41 years old now? 41, 42 for quite a few years. And now, the house that I live in is taken away, and because of the racism that occurs with disasters as well, with people being able to recoup, because insurance companies get away with a lot of money, a lot of not actually giving people what they were paying for.
That's right.
So a lot of people always think that people were uninsured, when in fact they were underinsured, or got notification of certain things not being covered. Couple that with the fact that you got a government that allows people to build things in floodplain areas where they didn't have the coverage they thought they had in the first place. So it just continues layer after layer after layer. As Doc was talking about her trip to the UK, in my mind I'm hearing a federal level of government that allowed the company to come over here, a state that allowed them to come in here without particular requirements, and a city that didn't even place a demand for you to get $3 so you can pay for the medicine that you inevitably will need from the sickness you will get.
Yes.
And then people will say things like, why don't you just move? Now, I don't make enough money, and what am I gonna do? I saw a man on the video last night, he said, what am I supposed to say? Hey, I got a house for sale where you can come and die slow. If you live here.
Yeah.
At $100,000, a house that somebody couldn't even sell for $20,000. And you gonna put me in a town where I don't even have a movie theater and ask me to do it. That's smart. So there's so many layers that I absolutely, at times when I see people who just don't want to get involved, I understand the effort. I'm not saying I don't, you know, we gotta keep swinging, but I get it.
I tell them,
It's a
first of
lot
all,
for anybody to take in.
we're not moving. We are not moving.
Right.
In Gloucester.
And like the gentleman
We
said,
shouldn't have
why
to
should
move.
I move?
Right.
Why should I move?
Yeah.
How can I move?
Exactly.
Where will
You're
I
not
move?
gonna uproot people. And I went to Washington D.C. and said that, and they said, "Did you just threaten? Lord help me." But I didn't. But Matthew Tejada was. I was meeting with Matthew Tejada. I think he was like number 2 in command at the EPA. And I looked at him and I said, you know, no, absolutely not. It's not an option for the people in Gloucester. Where are they gonna go? Most of these people live in homes that they inherited from generation to generation to generation. What happens if you uproot people and then, you know, 5 years from now, they can't afford where they live, and so now they're homeless. So we're not going anywhere. Gloucester is small. There's nothing to do there, but we are not leaving. We are absolutely not leaving. Like, we're gonna fight until you have some policies and practices in place that affect people in rural communities. Like, if we're not the voice for anybody, we are the voice today for rural communities, because I refuse to allow this to continue to happen to my family, to my mom especially, and then my community. But like I tell people, I'm like a grizzly bear. That's my mom. Her health is not going to correct itself. She's almost 80. When we went into the doctor's office, my niece and I, she's back there, and we listened to the doctor go through her chart. And he started naming all these breathing issues. And he was like, you smoke? My mother doesn't, like, where is all of this coming from? And that's another thing, because now you can't even tell the doctors, like, we live in a community that's heavily polluted by toxins, and then they just look and say, oh, brush that off, like, no, that's not going to. What do you mean? So now it's like we got to fight everybody. We're fighting the local government. We're fighting the industry. We're trying to fight medical. Like, somebody please come and help the people, because we're getting, like, first of all, we're not noticed. That's why I asked the people, How many of you know where Gloucester is? Because if you don't know where we are, you don't know about our issue, and you don't know how you can help. You don't even know you need to help us, right? So I always ask that question because I want people to know we are over here in Southwest Mississippi. People are sick and people are dying. Like, people are dying. There's a man who worked in Drax, and I had a conversation with him. Do you know what this man told me? They just sent him home to die. But he didn't tell me that. They just sent him home. And he said, oh, it's in the food that I eat. Dude, Gloucester small. Everybody know you have cancer and they gave you like months to live. And you walk around talking about, oh, but it's not my company. It's not the company. It's the food that I eat. And I said that doggone, like, God help me. I don't know what else to say to this man, but y'all, I don't really.
I mean, to tell the truth might be what actually,
My ex-husband,
you know, that's who accepted
his land is connected to the industry. We learned that, I think in August, he went to the doctor. They told him he had lung cancer. And by 3 or 4 months later, he was dead. The other man that worked inside him, now this is my ex-husband, his property is adjacent to the industry. The other man who worked there, as soon as he stopped working, he went home, was it 30 days later or maybe like 2 months later, he died from lung cancer. And then the other man in our community, like, I can go on and on about this, right? But he sits on his porch all the time, and then woke up one day, they say he has lung cancer, and 2 months later, he was gone. Now we learned about this man, and then I tried to have a conversation to say, listen, like, I need you to tell your story. And he said, the industry didn't do this to me.
So there's a direct connection to those black being dead in the environment you're working in.
Yep, and I want to just jump in on that. I was just thinking that the reason I know where Gloucester is and Liberty and the Mid-County, these are areas that are highly prevalent to floods and tornadoes. That area struck quite often here in Louisiana. So just to piggyback to what you just said, imagine going through all the things that she mentioned, and now you're in a community that has a part-time emergency manager who doesn't give a flip. The Mid-County emergency
Oh, I
manager.
reached out to him. I said, if we have a disaster, if this industry,
Campbell died.
if there's a fire, right? We don't even have a fire department. We don't have an ambulance. We don't have healthcare. We have absolutely nothing. But my question to them was, if there is a fire, do we have a plan for the people to get out of this community, right? Is there an evacuation plan or something?
How many
There's
people
nothing.
in here live in a rural
Nothing.
area? Or have lived in a rural area? And are aware of volunteer fire departments versus municipal fire departments?
Yeah.
A lot of people are not even aware that some cities do not have paid fire departments.
Right.
And some emergency managers are part-time in these areas who get very little money. And to be honest, a lot of them really don't care.
Right.
Well, they hand out smoke detectors for people in areas like that, and when they come into the community, they say, oh, we're gonna give everybody a smoke detector. Yeah, because there's no fire department, and if there is a volunteer fire department, by the time
They
they
gotta
get
drive
there,
an hour,
an
get the
hour
truck,
to
then
get
another.
to come back to get you. So, a smoke detector is the only thing that's gonna help you get out of the house.
Well, that's a big
Because
thing.
it's not gonna help you save your house.
Right.
It's just gonna get you out, and that's what fire departments tell you, is have a smoke detector in a rural area like that. Because volunteer fire department, like she said, it take an hour for them to go get the truck.
They just go get the truck, yeah.
Absolutely, but, and I want to touch on that. While working with the American Red Cross, that was one of the largest campaigns, because after a fire, a lot of people may be, again, or underinsured, right? But the main thing is, you can't figure out how to recover, you don't have, if you're dead.
Right. Exactly.
So the first thing is to be able to get out, to be able to move forward with life itself. Second part, of course, this is not a small thing for a person to lose their home. And they're right. A lot of times you're lucky if somebody responds. I'm a member of the volunteer fire department. I haven't been active for a while, but while I was active, and I was intentional about joining the volunteer fire department in the rural area of Hines County, because I just became so interested in emergency management, disaster recovery, and all of these things. And what I learned is that there were 2 fire departments within 5 miles of one another. one McLean Fire Department, and the Pocahontas Fire Department. Pocahontas Fire Department, when I tell y'all, this room wouldn't hold all of them. And they, not only do they show up, they've actually assisted the city of Jackson on fires. They've assisted several areas, Swiftwater Rescue, they train all the time. I'm like, this is so interesting. Now I go to McLean, not even 4 people show up for the meeting. And one guy, Lord, I hope y'all.
Makeup.
Yeah, you said what's the makeup?
Uh-huh.
Caucasian predominantly in Pocahontas, and one Caucasian and 3 blacks about in McLean. But here's another big difference. You know why I ended up being a member of the Pocahontas Fire Department?
Right.
When the man heard my background, he said, hey, we need you. He did the same thing with my son, like, hey, your community needs you.
Right.
You know, you're empty, you did it, we need you. He recruited like this. They took their position in that community very seriously. Jeremiah Howard. The other one, I was invited.
They probably.
I don't want to get into that. I don't wanna get into the whack.
Yeah.
But it wasn't fight or fight. But
Before we can close out, anybody have any questions for the panel?
I have a question, but you're invited because when they write grants, they gonna use your
they don't
blind.
want
Somebody got in Pocahontas got some.
Got some money.
They got,
Supervisor.
and they're gonna use the fact that
They
they
can do
have one minority person on the volunteer fire department, and so that's why they recruited you.
Well, no, they don't have one. They got many. It's a majority white, but plenty of black with Pocahontas. That's what I'm saying. It's not that makeup. It's literally on this particular case is leadership, and they don't write grants. The monies are allocated through the emergency management. Both of these
But they know how to
fall
recruit
under
talent. They know the talent that they need to help
Yeah.
them win.
Put it on, to put it on the paper.
Volunteer like we
Put
should.
it on the
Yeah,
paper.
we should be
In
making
our-
white folks to volunteer.
No, I was
not
gonna say,
making
this
it
is not
for
our-
we gotta volunteer to put our own fires out. Cause them our houses, our grandmamas, we should be calling white folks to come put a fire out in our neighborhood because we don't wanna learn, get trained, and serve.
Right, because if the truth be told, guess what? It was more money allocated to McLean Fire Department so they can have a kitchen, even though nobody's there to eat, other than the people who coming over there to play around on the weekend who won't volunteer.
Well, we got 2 questions we gotta get to. Sister, then Marcella.
Great so far. I'm an instructor of public health at USM, and at our public health
I've been
symposium.
looking for you,
I
USM.
need your card. I need your card.
I've been looking for you.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I've been looking for you.
It's been all morning, right, for people who are in here early. But anyhow, so I spoke on how poverty as an environmental issue affects college students. As an environmental health consultant, I know that poverty is not only an economical issue, it is also an environmental issue. Can y'all speak on that?
Real quick, before y'all do that, everybody make sure you do your survey. And if we can get done in enough time, I want us to kind of, these things are important to network. There's black doctors here that you need to talk to, that need to come to us.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
And we need to
Yeah.
know who in the room, because
Yeah.
we can network in this room to help solve some of our own problems.
And on top of that, yeah, I need all the network that I can get because I want to say this right fast. October 14th and 15th, please put it on y'all calendar. Please, October 14th and 15th. In November, I took my community to Jackson, and we stood up against MD here in draft, right? We basically went in there and we argued our case, and we were able to get the permit request. Drax want to expand their emissions. They want to pollute more in our community. They want a license to kill. That's what they do. They just want a license to kill. They don't have to get any more fines if they get this permit. But we fought back and the permit got denied. So, you know, Drax did an appeal. And so on October 14th and 15th, we have to stand here in Jackson again. And we have to plead our case again. One of the strategies I'm using is building collective power. I don't know no other way that we can defeat or we can win if we don't all stand together. People don't know Gloucester, but I'm all over this state. I'm everywhere I can be. And thanks to Dr. Brenda here, she's keeping me in the Jackson Advocate so that people can see that we have a fight in Gloucester. Y'all, we can't do it by ourselves. We cannot, we're a small group.
Yes.
Yeah, so my question is particular for Dr. Crystal Martin. Yes, ma'am. So,
We're gonna stay into the kick.
what are the challenges of trying to get your community aware of what you see while also fighting the industry simultaneously? And what would you tell people who want to get in a fight when they see these problems, but we know that struggle for you sometimes can be very, very overwhelming. And like Ms. Tripp said, sometimes you just don't want to even get in the fight. So what would you say to that?
It is overwhelming, right? It's very challenging. But I encourage people to join the fight because we have to help people who can't help themselves, right? We gotta help. We have to sometimes be a voice for the voiceless, right? I often tell people in my community we're like a family. And remember, the local government look like us. Some of us all have the same last name, so when you put two and two together, you like, we are.
Tell them a story about Gregory Allen, one of your allies.
Oh yeah, he on the paper and they silenced him, but so we're all like family, right? We start saying, oh, your name Martin, your name Martin, yeah, we're related, right? So it's like one big family, and it's like the people don't know which family member to believe. Right? Do I side with this side of my family, or do I side with this other side of my family?
Gotcha.
And so that's my struggle. People just don't, it's not that they don't have the information and know the facts. It's not that they're not sick. A lot of people are really, really sick. It's just that, but the mayor, and he stood up recently and said, Drax is breathing clean air into our lungs. And my man, I was like, look at this.
Somebody been checking.
But anyway, he had the same last name as my son. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But so people, it's a challenge. One day you're on my side, right? Because I show up and I bring you some goodies. And then the next day I got a Drax over here trying, they got more money than I have, so they show up and bring you a turkey.
Yeah.
Right? And then they say, well, we over here with Drax. And then the next day I come back and I say, bring me some juicy hams, and then they come over here. So they don't know what to believe, and it's very challenging.
And I'm sure the biggest issue with Gloucester is a lot of the young people are leaving Gloucester. It's more or less middle-aged people are still there.
It's the elderly and the young people. Yep, the elderly and the young people.
The ones that can't leave yet.
They can't leave yet. Yep.
We got this brother that's been waiting on next. Did you have a Dr. Mark?
Yes, for both of you. Are these issues by design or by accident?
Design.
Okay.
Design.
I
Let me
just
tell you
wanted-
something. I walk in Gloucester. I used to. You can't walk out there now. But anyway, I used to walk in Gloucester. And I used to tell my walking partner, I would say, look at the houses over here on the white side of town, what used to be the white side of town. And then look at our houses on the black side of town. Like, what? What happened back in the day when they were building homes? Why their homes look like this and why our homes look like that?
Cheaper material.
The bank said no.
Yeah.
That's that part. Like, how do you get to go to the bank and you work beside me? We work beside each other. Why you get a loan when you can afford? But on my side of the tracks, so it's like design.
Wait till your session.
So follow up. What can we do to change course? What plan of action can we do with our circle of influence that we have currently? What can we do?
I think we gotta show up and we gotta speak up. Like I'm saying, show up with me in October. Don't leave me over there hanging to fight this fight, because I tell people it's not a fight, it's a movement. Because what happens in October in Mississippi, first of all, what happened in April in Mississippi affected every U.S. southern state. See, we made history in April and people don't even know. MDEQ don't block permits. So when you Google us, you'll see. Yeah, we blocked the permit. We stood our ground. When in the permit board is all white, not one black person on the board, and only one female. When they left to take recess, I said, oh, they going to recess, we going to recess too. So sometimes all I know is to call on the father. So when they took their resource, we took resource in the court. They came back, they had to take recess again. And I was like, these white people, they are trying their best to give this industry that permit when the industry stood in here and they didn't plead their case. Like, there's no way that they can operate without harming our community. So they did prove that they could do it, and I was like, these white boys, they want to give these people that permit. But we stood up again. We were like, we know we had a chance to speak, but doggone it, we're going to speak again. And so they granted us that, and then when we looked up, they denied it. We ran out there. They was like, hold up, we still meet. No, our work here is done.
Yeah.
We will see you in October. And so now in October, I keep telling people, we can't go, y'all can't let us go do this by ourselves. When I'm at that legislature, when I'm talking to the legislator, don't leave me out there hanging. I'm everywhere they go, I show up. I show up. I'm their worst freaking nightmare.
Entourage.
Because we need policies changed, right? We need laws. We need stricter standards. We need whatever we can do. Because what happens in Mississippi in October will determine what's going to happen to our neighbors in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana. Dracs have 11,000 violations. You know what I tell my community? Think about a black man. You go out there and break the law. Go up and down that highway and speed. Let them pull you up and say you got 3 violations. They're going to handcuff you. Why we let this UK industry come to the US and get 11,000 violations and we still just
Sit back and watch.
yeah.
Okay.
And then why I gotta fight? Why do I have to fight? Like why?
One more. Go
Why
ahead,
do I have to be the one to keep fighting?
You got one more question.
Woo.
Get out of here.
So my question is, I actually have family that live in a rural area, and it's heirs property. How do you start the discussion? Because, like for instance, there is a sewer truck that comes along this main highway and is spilling stuff over. So you can smell it. And so I just happened to be visiting. I was like, so what is that smell? And I was like, well, they had this truck that comes by and it spilled it over onto the black asphalt in the ground. So how do you start those conversations to say, I know it's something has to be wrong. Like, what do I do to try to?
Here's what we're doing now. File a complaint to MPEQ. I wish somebody had told me that 3 years ago.
Okay.
Because we would be a lot further. But right now I'm getting everybody in my community we filing dust complaints. But file a complaint about the smell, right? You have to call this 800 number and file a complaint. After you get so many complaints, they have to come out and investigate.
Okay.
So you gotta spark an investigation, and that's how you do it. Get just as many people as you can, file that complaint. See, now we are MDEQ, Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality.
And when you file a complaint, a lot of times people will call, make sure you keep in written record.
Yeah, they're gonna give you a number.
Okay.
And then call back. After 2 days, call back. The investigator. So we just started our complaints maybe about a month ago. They've already gone to Gloucester. See, I wish I had known this 2 or 3 years ago, but I'm learning things as I go. They already went to Gloucester, and guess what they found? The same thing we complained about. So now, y'all may see where Drax get another fine anytime soon. But again, the policies are unfair, right? See, I'm gonna tell you one other thing right fast. The white people complained in Gloucester. They bought them out. They bought them out. The 2 white women that complained, the industry bought them out. The black people live closer to the industry than the white people did.